Hey guys, and welcome back. Lucian here with you again, like always. And today we're starting another multi-part series covering Ender.io. More specifically, we're going to cover the conduits of Ender.io. Ender.io fastly becoming one of my absolute favorite mods of the current modding scene, developed and maintained by Crazy Pants. So, like I said, this is going to be multi-part. The first part we're going to do today, we're going to be covering the energy conduits. Now, for the sake of transparency, like always, I'm using the Direwolf 20 pack version 103, and as we get later into the series, I will make this world available for download should anybody want it. And also, if anybody wants it before then, maybe ask me, and then I'll see kind of how I'm doing with the recording, and then I might be able to throw it up on CurseForge for you. So, without any more delay, let's get started. So, like I said, we're going to be covering just the energy portion of the conduits in this video today. So we have three different tiers of conduit, and they're all different based on how much power they can transfer and how expensive they are to craft. So the lowest tier is going to be your energy conduit, your basic energy conduit. It can transfer 640 RF a tick. And just for a quick recipe, all of these conduits from Ender.io will be using these conduit binder. Conduit binder is made from just really vanilla stuff: gravel, clay, sand. For each operation or each recipe, you get 8 of those, and each time you smelt one of those, you get 4. So you can make a lot of it because you're going to use a lot of it. The second tier, the middle tier, is an enhanced, and it can transfer 5,120 RF a tick. Crafting recipe on that is some redstone, gold, glowstone will give you 1, and the alloy smelter. I didn't show you the recipe here, but this is just iron and redstone. Pretty simple. And then the final tier is the ender, and we can transfer almost 20,000 RF tick. Very good transfer rates. Here's the recipe, again scaling in its difficulty to craft. Now, if you remember, in Thermal Expansion 3, the redstone conduits, they had a max limit of transfer rate of 10,000 RF a tick. So you can already see some advantages already, and we don't even have the conduit from Thermal Expansion yet. So those are your 3 different tiers. They are all made in the alloy smelter. Actually, alloy smelter's over here. Like that. It's got a nice little interface, and then if you need some help, you can also scroll through the recipes right here. And a lot of times this alloy smelter acts very similar and does a lot of similar operations of both the induction smelter and the furnace from Thermal Expansion. So let's start putting it to use. So it's all about transferring power from point A to point B. So I have a Stirling generator from here from Ender.io, and then of course I have a furnace generator from Extra Utilities. Probably 2 of the more basic items that you would use for early game power generation. So just like that, we now have power coming in to our pulverizer, and we can actually start cooking up some more. Pretty neat. Just like that. And you can see they're both coming back on and starting to generate more power. Alright, so cool. That's fairly easy, right? Let's turn down some sound just a little bit. So let's start talking about some of what you can do with these conduits. So if you right click on the plate, so here you actually have the conduit wire, and then you have kind of the connection plate. If you actually right click on the connection plate, you can actually get a series of options. So let me turn off NEI, and you can get some different information. So we have in and out. So what in and out means is basically it can send power and then also receive power. And then if you have some redstone control, if you want to use that, sure. If you want just simply an extract pipe, you can set it to extract. If you want to be an insertion pipe, they set it to insertion. But a lot of times, or you can use disabled, which you can see now it's now disconnected from there, and we can turn it back on. A lot of times, most people, and myself included, will just leave it to in and out. And the cool thing about the in and out is it'll kind of bounce power back and kind of regulate and kind of a status quo between the two pipes, which we'll see over here when we start playing a little bit. Now let me play with the Yeta Wrench a little bit. So Yeta Wrench is the actual wrench from Ender.io. It acts just like a wrench from the Crescent Hammer from Thermal Expansion, a BC wrench. It's all the same function, but it does have some more added functions in here. So if you see on the bottom left, we're not going to cover this too much today because we're mainly going to be focusing on conduits, and I'm also going to use this as kind of an introduction to the conduits. So the next one we'll either do item transfer, the item conduits, and then we'll do fluid or fluid next, then item, and then ME. So we're going to kind of slowly add on more and more pieces and parts to have a good series. So just for a quick, just a little teaser, you see in the bottom left, you'll see the 5 little icons. So if I hold down shift and I scroll with my mouse wheel, you can see how it's cycling through each of those icons and then coming back to normal. So this makes it really cool when you are using multiple pipes in one block, which is the fantastic part about conduits, is you can have all these different conduit pieces in one block. So let's say if I'm working with just item conduits, then I can circulate here, and even though you can see that pipe's still there, you can even see Walia is still reading it. It just makes it easier for you to work on these pipes. And then we'll flip it back to energy. We said now the energy pipe's showing, or we'll switch it back to all, or they're all showing. So those are just some cool functionality of the Yeta Wrench. We're going to get into it more as we progress. Okay? So a couple other notes about these conduits. You can see that since they're side by side, these no longer connect. In some older versions, they did connect. So like you could have, you know, basically a main supply wire of, let's say, like Ender, and then if you just needed to power a few things that are low tier, then you could just pull off a small piece of energy conduit. You can't do that anymore. Probably was unintentional in earlier versions, but it's 100% you can't do it now. So those no longer connect. Now let's talk about a few more things about these transfer rates. So we have 640, 5120, and 204080. So when you hear that number, a lot of people assume that that's the transfer rate of the actual pipe itself. That's the pipe limitation. Well, with Ender.io, that's not the case. Those hard numbers are actually the cap, if you will, on the connection point. Let me show you what I mean right here. So you see I have a pretty big size capacitor bank over here with a lot of power in it. And then I have 2 smaller ones over here with very little power in them. And then I have a power monitor right here in the middle. The power monitor, just like it sounds, basically any conduit that it's attached to, like you see right here, it will just basically give you some information about what's going on from there to there. Okay? So I'm going to flip this lever, and now this is going to start transfer power from here to here, right? Okay, and I need to do one more thing because it's like I disabled that. And you can see now on Walia, you see it's now losing 40,000 RF a tick, and each of these are getting the 2480 and the 2480. So since we have 2 connection points, it's able to distribute that. So those max on these conduits right here, it's per connection point. not the actual wire itself. Now if I drop down another piece right here, let's just say we'll do that right there, you're going to see the power would actually is going to start. Well, it'll help if I put down a not already full one. And we'll just do that there. So you can see now that's again getting 20,480, and everything else is, well, these are slowed down because these are already full. So you could do some really interesting creative things with these conduits and get some really crazy amount of transfer rates. So I just wanted to show you that, because a lot of people are kind of confused about the transfer rates, and is it per connection point or is actually the limitation of the actual line itself. So you wouldn't need to have, let's say, 2 pieces of conduit run side by side to get high power. You just need to have multiple connection points. Okay, so we got that covered. One last thing I want to go over is the facades. So here you see I have a painting machine right here, and I have some, well, they're already in there. I have some conduit facades. Conduit facades, again, super cheap, just this conduit binder in a square pattern. And if I toss this in the painting machine, this will now allow me to paint this conduit facade any block I deem right here. So let's say, you know what, I feel like diamond facades. And how about that? So these conduits make it excellent for hiding wires, being discreet about them, and it's really super cheap. Just like that. Now, obviously, probably a lot of people wouldn't use diamonds, but unless you're going through a real blingy looking build, but you can use several different things. So let's say, you know what, I don't want diamonds. I'm kind of making it into a wall, so I need some cobblestone facades. No problem. So now it looks just like your wall. And as I scroll into other pieces of conduit, you'll see they disappear so you can see them. Same thing with going to the Yeta Wrench. See? So that gives you kind of a way to work on it without having to remove the facade itself. But if you needed to, you could just break the facade and it would pop right off. If I grab a pick, you can see that. Or you can just do it like that. Well, I'm sorry, you actually need to break it, but not hard to break. And you get your facade back. Pretty cool. A couple other neat functions you can do with your Yeta Wrench if you need to disconnect something. Let's see. Where can we disconnect? Yeah, don't really need to disconnect anything right there. It'll come in a little more into play once we start adding some more wires into this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This is just a quick an introduction, but also a good overview of how to use these conduits. And as we go into the next multi-part series, we're going to start adding more and more functionality to this. And by the end, you're going to see how really powerful these conduits can be. So again, thank you if you're a new viewer, new subscriber, all that kind of good stuff. My contact information is down below. I will be uploading this world to CurseForge. That information will be down below. And I hope you have a great afternoon and talk to you soon.